gentlemen, welcome everyone. SSBills Talk, Season 2, Episode 2. We are not here just because of business. I am Lawrence Foster alongside Dr. Duncan. How are we doing today?
I mean, I'm here because of business. I'm in the business of being awesome. So, boom.
Well, you'll probably say more than business, unlike some of our Bills players are. So we jump right in on that today. James Cook, who had been the good soldier up until a few days ago, has decided business is coming forth and sitting out 2 practices, holding in, as they call it. So I know you've been on the trade train for a while. Thoughts on those things that are coming out of one Bills drive?
It's nice to see people are now jumping on the train that I've been on. You know, you said this the other day in the chat, and every time I see some sort of mock trade for Micah Parsons, James Cook is thrown on there, and yeah, I mean, I will reiterate some of the same stuff I've been saying for months now. Great player, sure, awesome to have in the offense. He brings a different dynamic than some of the other guys, but we cannot afford to pay $15 million for a guy that has 200, 250 touches a year, and in a position where, okay, they're not a dime a dozen, right? I think he's a top 10 running back, but if we had Ray Davis, Ty Johnson, I mean, I think we could get by without him. And so would I rather, and I know you are on the same page, I'm pretty sure you're on the same page with me, if we could somehow trade him and with picks and whatever else get Micah Parsons, I would much rather spend that $15 million on extending Micah Parsons than I would extending James Cook.
Oh, yeah. If Cook is a package to get like a Terry McLaurin to get a Micah Parsons, 100%. And I still think he's by far our best running back, but I've been on the train of not trading him, but all this 180 of all of a sudden he's deciding to sit out and not practice, and he just answers with one word, business. That was a line for me of, all right, we don't need this type of player here. And the Bills, if you listen to anything the Bills talk about, it's the culture there. Joey Bosa came in and talked about how it's more of a group than he's ever been around. Von Miller, in all his years, they were saying how it's a different locker room in there. So that me first attitude with a quarterback who takes far less money than what he could to help the team, the me first doesn't go well, and the Bills show that if you're a team guy, they'll take care of you eventually. Mm-hmm. And just him doing this, I've been on his side because he had been doing the right thing when he had to, but now he kind of made that turn, which turned me on him. So I'm with you now on the full board. Let's get rid of them. Ray Davis and Ty Johnson for a year can be what we need them to be, and then go for it.
Yeah, no, and the other part of this too, Foster, it comes down to, because I mean, you're going to have people saying, well, just pay him, like he's worth more and whatever else. It comes down to this, right? Like you and I, we sign a contract, and we have to go to our job and execute the contract that we signed. Okay, we can go find another job, but we have to interview, we have to do all of those other things, right? But what we can't do is just sit out and get paid. I can't go to my office, just sit in my office, not teach, not do my work. Same thing with you, and expect to get paid. And so if you just take it from a practical side where you look at football as a business, James Cook is an employee of the Buffalo Bills under contract. That's what annoys me about all these hold-ins and holdouts. Because sure, do I get the human side of it of, if you go in and play in that 1-year contract and you tear up your knee, are you likely going to get another big deal? No, you're not.
Yeah.
But from the reality of you're an employee, again, under contract. And so I don't know, it just, in effect, it drives me nuts. And especially with the Bills culture of just, if I firmly believe that if he went in and he just worked and he did his thing, he would be taken care of, even if he got hurt, right? Because that would be a super bad look, especially for a team like the Bills that prides itself on being what I think almost like a player-focused organization. If
Yeah.
the guy that wanted a new contract that worked and did everything and still got hurt, they would still, however they had to do it, take care of that person. So, yeah, I
And
mean,
it's like
go ahead.
what you said there reminds me of the Bucks and Chris Godwin of he's gotten hurt twice and they still brought him back and paid him because of what he was and who he was.
Mhm.
There's an example of what you're saying of come and do the right thing. Even if you get hurt, we'll take care of a player like that.
Yeah,
So there's examples of it in recent NFL history of like Godwin's not a great like top receiver, but he's like Cook, one of the better ones. He got hurt twice pretty majorly, and each time they brought him back on a well above a injured market value. So
yeah.
it's there.
And for all the teams to do it and all the rosters to do it, like this is it. You know what I mean? Like I I don't obviously know this, but I have to imagine that, you know, Josh's opinion of you goes a long way in terms of do you get another contract or do you not, right? And I don't know. I listened to Christian Benford talk today, and I've heard Shakir talk, like guys that have gotten paid this offseason, and every single one of them took a little bit less money. Josh Allen, right? Everyone took a little bit less money because everyone, all they want to do is win. Sure. Do they want to get paid a reasonable amount of money? Yeah. Shakir getting what, 10 or 12 million a year, Benford getting what, 15, 20 million a year. I forget exactly, right? They all took below market value, or at least what they could have gotten on the open market. They still got paid a ton of money, because I think that's the other thing too, of putting it in perspective of, you know what, everybody eats, right? It's not just with the football, it's with the dollar amount, because if Josh takes 65 instead of 55, well, that's 10 less for the other guy. And if Shakir takes 15 instead of 12, or Benford, you know what I mean? All of a sudden those numbers start to stack. And now, because five guys that got big extensions took collectively 20 to 25 million less, well, now there's that money that can be divvied up amongst everybody else. And so if we have Cook, who's like, no, I want top dollar, I want every dollar I can get. Part of me gets it, but the other part is like, that does not work in that Bills locker room. Guys want to stay and they want to win. And they also appreciate that, hey, I'm getting paid $12 or $15 million a year to go play with this football.
Yeah.
I got it pretty good.
Yep. And part of me, no one can convince me that his brother isn't a part of this. I feel like if his brother wasn't who he was and what happened to him, I don't think Cook would be playing this like he is. Because I think him coming to camp, going to OTAs and stuff, was like I think that's more of who he is.
Same.
I think his brother is such an influence on him. That's why he picked number 4, right? And he always talks about his brother. To me, it's kind of the same with Diggs, but his brother in Dallas just kept egging Diggs along, and I feel like if he wasn't there, I think Diggs would have been more content.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate. It's gotten to that point. I don't think we'll trade him. I really don't, but I'm on the board of I want to get it done. Especially tomorrow night, I'll be really interested because this happened early enough for HBO to actually do something with it.
Yep.
They're gonna are they gonna have anything behind the scenes that we have no idea about? So I think tomorrow night's episode will be very interesting just to see how that plays out.
Same. Yeah, I was thinking that earlier.
So that was a change up, but when we were putting together our pre-show notes, we were going to talk about Maxwell Harrison's injury, but this hold in by Cook kind of obviously took the lead from our opening. So we'll move on to that. Maxwell Harrison, we've been talking about him throughout camp, him and Trey White in a battle for the starting corner spot opposite Benford. Well, that's kind of been put on the back burner now with his injury. Does this dampen any of your expectations or hopes for him in his rookie year?
No, and I think we may have talked a little bit about this last week. But no, I mean, if we didn't have Trey in the back pocket, right, then yes, that would be more concerning. But I think like I said last week was just talking about the fact that, like the quarterback position, it takes time for these things to like slow down, right? For these guys, I mean, for the defenders, and I think more so for the DBs because they're back looking at everything to really understand, okay, what am I looking at, right? Like if you have all these crossers, you got these pick plays, you have all these different routes. The route combinations are far more complex than they are in college. The athletes are better. Everything is moving faster. And so not that I want him hurt, and not that I don't think he's going to be good because I do, but I think you can look at this truly as a glass half full thing where, all right, maybe he can't play right away, but it at least gives him, as long as he does it, right? As long as he's there and he's dialed in and he's focused, it at least gives him that opportunity where, you know what, I have no pressure to play because I physically can't. But what I can do is I can watch and I can learn. I can talk to Benford and Trey. I can talk to all these guys, watch all the film, watch these games, and all I'm doing is absorbing. I'm learning and absorbing. And so hopefully once he gets in, kind of like, I mean, even though Bishop had a couple of mistakes, I think doing some of that watching and learning helped him later on in the season when he actually had to play. So again, would it be great to get him in? Sure. But I do think this does provide him in a low pressure opportunity to just sit back and learn.
Yeah, and bringing up Bishop, I think, is appropriate because it kind of seems like the same thing that happened to him last year. Gets hurt kind of a week in the training camp, and then Hamlin takes over and starts.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike Hamlin, though, I think Trey has a bigger upside, or it might be harder for Hairston to find the field, whereas Hamlin kind of was just mediocre. But with Hairston, I think his personality, like you said, kind of glass half full, his personality seems like the type that he'll take this, like you said, as an opportunity to learn, maybe slow down, go in the classroom. And I'm not sure if you listened to any clips from One Bills Live today. They had Brandon Bean on, and he was talking about how, like, rookies have a hard time picking things up, like at linebacker and line. But he said kind of corner has a little bit less on the plate than other positions. So because they were asking about, like, Harrison's injury and how it will affect him. And to me, it was essentially like he was saying he may not be behind as big of an 8 ball as people think. And maybe that's because, like, it's a mental thing. Like, that's what Elam struggled with, right? Was not being able to, the zone concepts that the Bills run, not able to switch it. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise, like you said, glass half full, of him being able to see how the defenses run. And week 1, he gets to see it against one of the better offenses in the league playing Lamar in the Ravens. So I ideally hope kind of the same thing happened with Bishop. Trey maybe plays well. I think he'll get dinged up 1 or 2 games this year. And then that's Harrison's chance to go in and show what he has.
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, I think we got pretty solid corner depth, because obviously we're talking about Bishop because he's not Bishop Harrison because he got hurt. But, I haven't really heard anything negative about any of the rookie corners, whether it's Strong or the other guy.
And I mean, we always forget we have Dane Jackson, who has starting experience there too.
Yeah, but I'm sure, but I guess I'm thinking just more of the rookies that we drafted.
So, piggybacking off this, the injuries, to me, there's some concern of, like, the injuries are piling up at certain positions. Like, that's what people always says. Injuries happen. It's when it happens at 1 or 2 positions. Like, that's when you're like, what are we doing? Like, Bills have had workouts with, like, 4 receivers, a couple linebackers. So we'll start off with the receiver end. Palmer, Shakir,
Samuel.
Samuel Coleman just came back from leg soreness. So any concerns there that the Bills' all their top receivers, other than Coleman, are dealing with injuries at this point in camp?
Yes. Like, that is my number one concern, right? Because, again, you think, okay, in almost 4 weeks, right? Like, our first game is what, the 4th or the 7th, something like that, right?
That first Sunday night.
Yeah. It's like, okay, we have a month, and
almost exactly.
the off season's supposed to be the healthiest where everyone is supposed to be, and these injuries aren't supposed to start piling up till mid-season, end of season. And it's just like, goodness, on a team where you have a lot of, even though they're veterans, they're new in terms of our team, and so like guys that aren't going to be able to get on the same page as Josh. I mean, that's honestly what I think of how many interceptions did Josh have with, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. He was that really fast receiver that used to play for the Chiefs. I think his name starts with M.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Yeah. But he didn't play a ton. He was in there to just run routes, and I think Josh didn't throw a ton of passes his way, but I think he threw 2 picks his way because they just weren't on the same page. And so I just think, is that what this year is going to be? Like, are you going to see this rebounding of interceptions because guys like Palmer, guys like
More,
just they're just not there getting reps with Josh, and so the offense is going to struggle. Now, on the flip side, you could look at this again as it just depends on your perspective, because on the flip side, these guys are going to come back. They are veterans who know how to approach the game, how to approach preparation. I'm sure they're doing extra stuff, just talking to Josh or whatever. So it does give, in case one of them does get hurt later on in the year, well, now you can bring back one of these guys that we've signed, and they already have some experience with the team, some experience with the offense. So I don't know. I'm nervous about our preseason game because all this crap has happened in practice where it's less physical, right? But now you get to a game, and granted, the starters aren't playing. I do not want Josh to take a single snap in the preseason.
Yeah.
But now in a game where you have guys with their livelihood is in the line, and so they're going to be moving 1,000 miles an hour trying to make a play. And so, are our reserves going to get tore up? I don't know. I just all of these injuries. Is it concerning? Yeah, it is.
And it's funny you bring up the preseason. Like, we're a team now, where people those people trying to make a name. Man, I'm going to do this against the Bills.
Yeah.
Because we're a national team now because of Josh and what's been going on for about 7 years. But I worry about last year, what happened with Samuel. He got hurt early in the year and wasn't the same till the end of the year, and he's already tweaked it. Shakir is week to week, and that's worrisome to me. It's not like everyone else seems like day to day, but it's all tissue stuff. To me, it's something that they don't give it enough rest. That's something that can just linger.
Mm-hmm.
So wide receivers, one of them linebackers, just all of our linebackers have been hurt. Shaq Thompson got hurt. Proctor got hurt again. I'm Spector. I'm sorry. I don't know how we can trust Spector at all. He gets hurt constantly.
Yeah.
Bernard's been hurt for a while. So it's just we're working out linebackers. And that's position too. I don't want Milano to see a snap in the preseason.
Seriously.
Yeah, because he's like Josh to me. He's looking like he's back to himself. We don't need him to show anything in the preseason. But you mentioned trying to be glass half full. This game is a great chance for people like Shavers and to come and make a name for themselves. Be hey, or Deion Kane, who's made a few plays already in the time we signed him in camp, to be hey, I'm worthy of one of these bottom spots, and I'm cheaper than Samuel. I'm cheaper than Moore.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully they get a chance to shine, because every year there's, 2 or 3 either late round or undrafted rookies who make a team, like Joe Andreessen last year. Who expected him to make the team at the start of last year?
Right.
So, looking at that, who is somebody that you think might be somebody that takes advantage to step up and be I'm going to make this team?
You ask a really good question. I just the butt end of our roster, because there's been so much turnover. The fringe guys are not fresh in my head. I mean, I definitely think with the injury at the linebacker, it pretty much solidifies Joe being on the squad
Yeah.
this year, right? The guys like what we had talked about before with the various corners that we drafted. It just comes down to, okay, like what is our critical position of need? Because like we didn't really draft, or any receivers, but like one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do think this is, as you mentioned. I mean, I guess I'll just go with Shavers because I think a lot of Bills fans like him. He's been around a while. He's worked really hard, and this is where I don't understand. Josh is always super, and like the team itself is always super complimentary of him, saying he works his butt off. He does all the things right.
Yeah.
Quoting Josh, yet he can't make a roster, right? Like,
Those are the things that I'm looking forward to. Hard Knocks. Maybe it's a classroom thing. We only see what he does on the field.
sure,
Is he not somebody that in the classroom is able to show what he needs to show where they can trust him
right,
to do it in like that's like you said, that's the only thing that makes sense to me is like everybody speaks compliment. He went in and what his only catch of the year took to the house on a screen. So to me, it's got to be a classroom thing.
yeah,
And that's an underrated side of football, I think, when people wonder, like, just like when coaches, man, how did they get a job? Well, maybe they interview like crap. It's like these guys who can show everything on the field in drills, but like if he's out there, can he read, all right, this is cover one, I got to switch my route to that? Maybe he's not mentally there yet.
yeah. Or the other aspect where like we ask our receivers to do a lot of blocking, and so maybe he's great with the ball in his hands, but as a blocker, he sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? But yeah, no, I think he's one. Him and Joe. If I had to give you two, I know that's a bit of a weak one, but that's ultimately, I just haven't followed the back end of our roster and all of these new guys that we signed.
Well, that's why Saturday will be good for us too to like see who's making a play. Like Javon Solomon, everyone keeps talking about making plays. Nobody talks about him on our defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
They say all camp he's out there, and he was on a team last year, special teams. So that's why these games are awesome. A chance for those guys to show out and see what they can do.
Yeah.
That's what, like when Joe Andreessen last year came on the radar for me was like what he did in the preseason.
Yeah,
I think
he's killing it.
Steelers, he would just
Yeah.
all over the field.
Yeah.
So we have a question from Ainsley who asked, "Is Kincaid still banged up or is he back?" Dalton, he was at the red and blue scrimmage and he made a nice touchdown catch. I saw.
Yeah, I saw that too.
So it looked like he's fully back. And hopefully that's what all these injuries are. Hopefully we'll look back at week one and be like, man, we were worried about nothing.
Yeah. I like as we were talking, I'm sitting here and I guess as the resident muscle physiologist, I'm trying to think of why, right? Why? Because you said all these soft tissue injuries, and there's a gajillion reasons, right? Because they're all different ones. But I was just being here in Texas and just thinking about the fact that like kids are playing football all the time, like not just football, all sports. It is a 24/7 almost business where kids are constantly training, they're working, they're practicing, they're playing, and it just that continues throughout. Everyone sees the money and the fame that comes with being great at this thing, right? And so it's the ones who are motivated. It's constant work, practice, work.
Yeah.
And there is definitely something called overtraining. That is a very real thing, and it greatly increases your risk for injury. And I don't know this to be the case, obviously, because I don't know these guys' life schedules or anything like that. But man, I just like when I see all these injuries, I'm like, is this just a fluke thing, or is this a product of something like overtraining, where guys like they just don't take time off? They're constantly working and grinding, trying to get better.
Yeah.
But the hardest thing for athletes to do, the ones who are great, is to stop. And sometimes that's the best thing for you, right? Taking a week off and doing nothing, giving your body time to recover is the best thing for it. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's when you look at like what LeBron does to sleep in a hyperbaric, like those athletes realize the rest is just as important as all the other work that they do.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Moving on from injuries, Keon has continued to have flashes. I think you're not the biggest fan of him because anytime there's a highlight play of him, your comment is usually zero separation. So I think overall Keon's made a lot of really strong, good plays, but like he's somebody like Saturday is another great time for him to show what is your expectation of him going into Saturday's game.
Given all these injuries, maybe one series. Okay. I think because Shakir's not going to play, and if he only plays one series, force feed him the ball, right? Make him so. What you said about what I said is absolutely correct. But I was watching this highlight reel of Megatron the other day. Maybe it was even yesterday. And first of all, Coleman is not Megatron. Okay. But if you see a lot of his highlight reel catches and just his like, the dude doesn't have a ton of separation, but he's always open.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like he has giant arms, he can leap, and so even if he has a guy draped on his back, it doesn't matter. He has this arm stretched out, and he's always open as long as Stafford put the ball in the right place. And so that gave me, I guess, a little bit of hope. Short. Do I hope that Coleman can figure it out and is able to understand the defense and in a way like Shakir does? Because I look at Shakir and I see Cole Beasley 2.0. Cole Beasley was not the most physical and athletically gifted dude, but boy, he was smart and he knew where to get open. That's the same thing with Julian Edelman and Wes Welker, and I see Shakir as the exact same thing. He's a smart dude who gets open, he catches the ball, and then he breaks tackles. And so I think if Keon, for which obviously a different body type player, if he can just get open a little bit more and just give Josh a slightly bigger window, then I think he will have a massive, massive season. And it comes down to just like anything else. If one guy is killing it, one that opens things up for everybody else. Right now, all of a sudden in the red zone, you can't double Kincaid. You got to double Coleman. Or better, you can't double any of them because you got Shakir there too getting open underneath. And then there's a resurgence of Knox. And so all of a sudden you have these 3 or 4 guys in the red zone that every one of them is a touchdown threat for all different reasons. So I want to be optimistic. I think is he a bit of a, call him a goofball. As a professor, I'd call him a moron. But right? Like, is he good for the Bills? Yeah. Like he has that, has the right personality for the Bills. It's just, I just would want to see it on a Sunday. I want to see him go out there and just absolutely dominate, right? Go out there and moss dudes because physically you can't, right? You can jump out of the gym. You're bigger, you're taller, and stronger than most of those DBs. You're probably not faster, but you don't need to be. Just say, Josh, I'll go get it.
I think of the Seattle game last year where he did that multiple times. Remember he had that like catch where he got upended and like still caught it. He mossed somebody in the end zone for a touchdown. Mm-hmm. So like he's shown that, and like you said, just let's see it consistently. And they got to put him in the right spot too. Like you mentioned Shakir being like a break, like Shakir's a great screen person because he's smart and he's physical. Keon's speed and what he was good at, if you're trying to run like a screen with him, it's not going to work.
Yeah, don't do that.
So, and Josh mentioned on an interview last week on Moving the Chains about he wanted Coleman because like running slants and like, I don't remember him running very many of those types of patterns. If that's what Josh said, hey, we should draft him for this. The Bills did draft, and Beans admitted he gave him homework like, who do you want? How about we let him run what Josh envisioned when he was picturing him playing in the system,
No,
to me, it's that of put him in a position to succeed. If you're having him do things where he's not the best at, then he's going to look bad.
No, and you're absolutely right because if you think about it, it's almost like he and Kincaid are both tweeners in their own right. Like
Yeah.
Kincaid, he's a tight end, sure, but he's got the footwork and the hands and sort of the ability to make all these crazy catches like a receiver. And it's, Coleman, like, sure, he's a receiver, but he's a big body dude, and he could easily block probably most defensive backs. But I think when you say wanting him for slants, yeah, I see that makes a ton of sense, right? Go in, show Josh your numbers, get that 5 yards, 3 yards, fall forward for an extra 1 or 2. That's a first down.
And a comparison they saw of him I hadn't seen yet. Someone said his goal should be like a Marquise Colston, and that's perfect. When you think of Marquise Colston, he wasn't burning people. He was like a slow strider. He was like Coleman when you watch what he does. So if I'm Joe Brady, that's what I'm doing. Is like, all right, how did the Saints, who had a great mind and quarterback in Breeze and Peyton, how did they use him? What can we do to do things like that with him? Because they're very similar, right? They had a dynamic running back like we do with Cook, and as long as he's there. They had Jimmy Graham. Kincaid has the ability to do that. And Marquise Colston was a build just like Coleman. So to me, that'd be an example of, right, if I'm struggling getting him where he should be, let's go find somebody who's utilized that to a really great, like he was a great receiver for a decade.
Yeah.
So let's go find influence there and see what you can do there.
Marquise Colston, gosh.
Yeah.
My head and hurting forever.
I hadn't either, but then I read that. I'm like, that's a great comparison. Then I went and watched a couple YouTube, like, yep, that, like when I'm watching, like, that's Coleman. And he had the benefit of having a great quarterback, but the great mind. And you and I have questioned for the entire time Brady's been there, can he get the most out of receivers? Shakir aside, like, he seems to struggle to concept-wise get people open. So don't be afraid of, hey, I don't know everything, right? Don't be so full of yourself that you can't go look at Sean Payton, one of the best minds in history, and see what he did. So Saturday's game, we already said you don't want to see Josh Allen. What are some things you do want to see? Obviously, don't worry about, like, obviously we want no injuries.
Right.
But, like, who are some people, like, are you looking at some line, like offensive linemen to step up, D-line, like you're looking at the rookie D-lineman, like who's your eye going to be on?
I'm looking for, because you've said that that Mike White has been out dueling Mitch throughout the preseason or about camp. That's what I want, right? I want it to be clear separation of who should be backing up Josh. I want one of them, and ideally it's probably Mike White, because he cutting Mitch, I think, saves, they said, like $2 or $2.5 million. And so seeing Mike White go out there, play against the twos, and just destroy them. Do what Trey Lance did, right? Go out there, which, talk about a sentence no one's said in a while.
Well, good.
But yeah, go out there and just handle business, right? Make it very clear of, like, you know what? It's time to move on from Mitch. Because I feel like Mitch is going to get the default nod, probably just because he's been around a little bit longer and he was a former second overall pick and big body quarterback, a little bit mobile, yada, yada, yada. But, man, if you think about every time Mitch has had to go out there, that throw to Shavers aside, it's just, I just feel uneasy. I was like, man, if Josh didn't miss any time, I wouldn't want that guy throwing the football.
No. And like you said, like going out and dominating, both of them are veterans. There shouldn't be any, training wheels type stuff.
Yeah.
Like, we know we have a good running game. We don't need Johnson or Davis to be getting reps. This should be, let's see what our quarterbacks can do type of game. Like, if we throw it 60 times combined, cool, because that gives us a good, like, 30 throws each. Let's see what they each can do.
Yeah. So I guess that's, it on the offensive side. On the defensive side, I want to see Joe Andreessen come out and do what he did last year. I still think that guy gets a lot of disrespect. I mean, I'll just say it just because, like, Madden still doesn't have his picture up, right? Like,
yeah.
And so go out there and, I don't know. I mean, I think most Bills fans are freaking dryer.
That's what that is.
I think most Bills fans are rooting for the guy, but given the injuries that we've had already at the linebacker, plus his story, I would feel a lot better moving into the season knowing that, okay, well, if Bernard or Milano get hurt, either Dorian Williams or Joe Andreessen can step in and fill the void, and we've seen it. Yeah.
So I'm excited. Aside from that, I love Joe Andreessen. I'm excited to see the rookie D lineman play. I want to see Landon Jackson get after. I want to see TJ Sanders, who they've been saying is stepping up, and just and can Deion Walker's size translate to the game? It's like those are the things I'm going to look at specifically on defense. And we talked numerous times on here with the suspensions, those guys are going to have to step up and play big parts the first 6 weeks of the year. So I'm not expecting 8 sacks, but do they look lost out there, or do they look like they belong and like they're where they need to be at this point in the year? And I really I think the Bears are going to play some starters. I don't think they're at a point where Caleb can afford to not play and get reps.
He sucks.
Yeah, that throwing into the net thing.
There's so many training camp videos of Caleb Williams just either losing his mind or just purely sucking. I saw this comment on Twitter. Someone's like, the nail polish should have been a red flag for us. And that guy.
And we're obviously not quarterbacks, but I think we could throw at least 1 out of 3 balls into a hole 10 feet away.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, anyways, you're right. I mean, I think that our rookie defensive line is, they'll get an opportunity against some of the Bears' main guys.
And also, I'll be interested to see how Bass does. He still had that injury that they keep talking about. And I don't even know if there's another kicker on the roster, to be honest with you, right now.
Yeah, Ray Davis, duh.
Are they going to have him actually kick to be like, hey, emergency, can you go out there and kick a 30-yard field goal?
I mean, if he kicked in high school, why not, right?
I mean, you got to have an emergency one.
I'm just saying, if you need someone out there to go kick a PAT.
Who was it? Ocho Cinco who did that a decade ago?
I think so.
Yeah, because I think he's a soccer guy. So yeah, it's going to be exciting. The Bills are going to be playing, and we talk about the back end of the roster, who are the linebackers? Is somebody going to show out like Joe did and maybe make Shaq Thompson expendable? All right, let's give the young guy a shot.
Or Balin Spector.
Yeah. And the thing is for Balin, Bean and everyone has already talked about, you got to be available in regards to him, and he's already hurt again. He cannot stay healthy. So, I mean, if he's not even a great player or a good player, the bottom of the roster people, if they're not available, it's not even worth the time.
Yeah.
So that's the preseason game. Trade talks. We wanted to trade Cook. So let's say there's 2 players on the market that would, I think, really help the Bills. Micah Parsons, Scary Terry. Which one would you, all things equal, in terms of what we gave up? Which one would you choose and why for the Bills to make a move for?
So I think people would easily default to go to Micah. But given our recent injury history at the receiver position, right, and the fact that Terry McLaurin has been relatively injury-free for most of his career, I mean, I don't think it's quite as simple as that. Because, sure, on one hand, you have a receiver who's going to turn 30 towards the end of the season. Yep, and your receivers usually sort of top out at 31, maybe 32 if you're Devontae Adams. Yep. And so would we have him for 2 or 3 seasons before the wheels start to fall off? Sure. But this contract stuff aside, he seems to be anti-Diggs isn't the right terminology to use, but he's not a Stephon Diggs. Like, he brings you this elite skill set, but without the drama behind it, right? Like, that dude played in Washington and has thus far had one season with a good quarterback, and that was last season.
Yeah.
Right? Like, for the most part, he's been playing with journeyman most of his career. And one, he still put up numbers, and two, hasn't said anything about it, right? And that fits our culture, right? If now all of a sudden you can trot out there Shakir, Coleman, and Terry, right? You've got Kincaid out there. Somehow Cook stays. I mean, that's a pretty potent offense.
Yeah, with Josh Palmer as your fourth.
But on the flip side, you've got a freak human specimen who, on a team that we often get up, right? And so he can pin his ears back and just rush after the passer, who's in his prime, right? I actually checked that he's just entering his prime. So you sign him to a massive deal. I mean, he's going to be old enough to get another massive deal.
Yeah.
Granted, you'd have to pay so much for him.
To me, that's I know I said all things equal. The money is just going to be so much more for Parsons.
Well, the money and what you have to give up for him. Because I think you could get Terry for 2 seconds or maybe a first, but I think it's 29, probably not that. Whereas with Micah, it's going to be 2 firsts. You're probably going to, and then another solid player. Like, I was thinking,
Epinessa's going to go.
What's that?
Epinessa's who everyone thinks would go in a trade.
Well, as you start talking about all of these, players that we have, our rookie defensive line, the one thing that I keep thinking of is that, well, what if TJ Sanders, Walker, right? They go out there and they kill it. Like, they play really well. Does that make Ed dispensable, right? Mm-hmm. Is Ed Oliver a guy who's making pretty big money, right? Now all of a sudden it's like, you know what? We'll give you 2 firsts, Ed and AJ. I'd make that deal.
It's a lot.
I know, but like, if you have a guy who's going to be your premier pass, who already one is a top 5, top 3 pass rusher, if not defender.
Mm.
And again, he's 25 years old, so he's just entering his prime. He has, at least 4 or 5 years of dominant physicality left in him, who's been relatively injury-free. He misses a game or two here or there. And with him being there, now all of a sudden it likely frees up other guys and makes the secondary's job a lot easier. With all this, maybe now we get more turnovers, because I got to imagine, like, a lot of those picks from Trayvon Diggs had 2 or 3 years ago, and all the interceptions that they get, you can't tell me a good number of those weren't because Micah Parsons was screaming down the quarterback's neck and he just had to get rid of it, or it's just like, okay, I got 2 seconds and this ball has to be gone because Parsons is coming. Yeah. And so, his actual impact on a team, you'll likely never be able to. Well, we won't. Some, data analysis nerds will. But, like, what is his worth, not only in terms of sacks and forced fumbles and pressures, but points because he forced a turnover, right? So,
or a trickle-down effect of he's going to get double-teamed. Now, Ed and Greg are doing 1v1s.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to a NASCAR set, one of them kicks inside, and Bosa's out there. Bosa, Parsons, Rousseau, Ed Oliver, all rushing the passer. So to me, there's the trickle-down effect of – I think his trickle-down effect is more impactful than McLaurin's.
Yes, and that's ultimately is my answer, is that all things considered, and even though Terry would be a great addition, one, Josh isn't giving up the number 17. And 2, Parsons, it's just, it's hard to, his impact, it's hard to to quantify because he does it at so many levels, and it does because he forces turnovers and gets the offense the ball back. It also links into he's going to give you more points per game.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm with that, and they're both still holding out. So we can hold out hope that a trade might happen. It's funny you didn't mention Cook being mentioned in any of those trades. So looks like you want to keep our boy.
You're trash. Well, I mean, the Cowboys, right? They need a running back.
Yeah, they don't have much. And the Commanders are what? They
Brian
have
Robinson
an
and
age.
Austin Eckler.
Yeah, an age Eckler and Robinson, who they chose not to offer the extra year of his contract to.
Yeah. Was that dude averaged like 3.6 yards a carry? Like he just runs forward and falls down. Yeah. Runs forward and falls down.
And again, I think if he hadn't have been shot, that maybe he kind of like Hamlin kind of been hanging around because of that.
Yeah.
But
no, I mean, I think definitely with AJ, Cook, and a couple first-round picks, I mean, it's not a bad haul for Dallas. I think it makes their offense that much better because now you have CD, Cook, Pickens,
tight end.
Yeah, their offense I just think gets better because frankly I don't know. We'll see. I doubt Jerry will do it just because he's super stubborn. I didn't realize. So I read this thing the other day that I just because I wasn't a huge fan back in the actually I say huge. I wasn't a fan at all back in the 90s because I was a kid. But the fact that Jerry he made it to or won like 4 or 5 Super Bowls in like the first 8 years of him buying the team, and then essentially nothing since '95.
Yeah, they won 2 in a row, and then 2 years later, won again with Barry Switzer.
Yeah, and at some point, I mean, he's got to look at himself in the mirror and be like, "I think I just got lucky. I don't think I'm a good GM because it's been 30 years and we haven't even sniffed it."
Well, he had what? He had Hall of Fame trio.
Yeah.
Aikman, Emmett, they had Charles Haley. They got Dion for the year they won the Super Bowl against the Niners.
Uh-huh.
I mean, and then he went to the Niners. So he lives in the past completely. And this is a Bill show, but yeah, Jerry Jones. I don't know a single Cowboys fan who's happy what he's done with the team for 30 years.
Yeah.
Jerry cares more. I think more. It seems like he cares about headlines and being talked about more than he does about winning.
I mean, the stuff he says about his players, right?
Yeah.
Like about your premier players. It's insane to me to talk about Micah Parsons and put in the vein of I paid Dak top money and he wasn't available, so essentially saying I don't really want to pay Parsons because who knows if he's going to be available.
Yeah, it's not like Dak had a hangnail either. He's had some pretty serious injuries.
For real. I don't know. I just like that guy. I mean, it feels just like it was with with Ralph. Like the Bills didn't take a step forward until he passed away. As sad as that is to say, because I still call Bills Stadium the Ralph.
Yeah.
But that's how it feels for the Cowboys. Like they're not going to be able to take a step forward because they got all the money in the world, all these fans, for which thank God that they were good in the 90s. Otherwise, they would be the Browns. I mean,
yeah, and the thing for them is Jerry is the most visible owner in the league. Like, what other owner has a weekly talk show? I don't ever remember Terry Pagula talking or Kim.
Yeah, I can't hear his voice.
No, but Jerry Jones, we have no doubt. So he wants to be, and like you said, it's kind of one of those things until he is bye-bye it, he's not gonna fire himself, first of all.
No.
He'll be doing this until he kicks the can.
Yeah.
But
And then his son's going to take over, who he learned from his dad's.
one would hope he learned from the mistakes.
Yeah.
But again, this is a Bill show. We diverted you a little bit there, but this is our season 2, episode 2. Next week, we'll be dissecting an actual game for the first time on our show. So look forward to that. You guys can kind of get our analysis on games. We'll be on next Sunday, rain or shine.
Because we're indoors.
We're indoors, absolutely. But we thank everyone for joining us. As always, people who watch later on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, we thank you. Stop by our YouTube channel, drop a like, drop a follow. We're going to be here throughout. Eventually, the Bills will win a Super Bowl. We'll be there with you for that. Any closing thoughts before we move on?
Maybe James Cook doesn't make it to Hard Knocks episode 2, huh?
That sounds like a threat.
Yeah, James, figure it out, bud.
And for that, we always close things out with the same thing Josh Allen does by saying, "Go Bills."
Bills.